What's up, YouTube? We're back with another video. I'm your host, Brandon, and today we are talking about named ranges in Google Sheets. This is going to be a pretty short video because there's really not much to this, but name ranges will help you make equations that read more like an actual language. So in my case, it'll read more like English, so that way you're not looking at cell references that are hard to decipher. So with that said, we'll just dive right in. We'll start off by doing a normal equation using cell references just like we're used to in spreadsheets, and then we'll use that as the basis for comparison for the benefits of using a named range. On the left-hand side, we can see over here we have a list of Pokemon and their various attributes. I did scrape this from cerebi.net, so if you'd like to check out the source data, please feel free to do so. But we can see that we have a number of different Pokemon. I believe it's 905 Pokemon in total, which is a semi-decent sized data set. And on the right over here, what we want to do is we want to average the HP by the type of Pokemon. So we have water and then we have grass. And we're going to use the water as the normal example for our equation, and then we'll use a named range for our grass example. So to start off, we'll start typing our equation here, which is going to be average if. And then we're going to select the criteria range. So we want to, the range is going to be related to the type here. So we want to select the type, go all the way down the column, and then for some reason there's this annoying thing where it makes you scroll all the way up again. And there might be a shortcut for that, I don't know. Let me know in the comments if there is. But the next part of this equation is going to be the criteria. So we want water, and since I don't have water alone in this cell over here, I can't just reference it, so I'll type in a string of water. And then lastly, we'll want the average range, which is the HP. So we'll select all of the data in the column for HP, and then close the parentheses, press enter, and we will get our average. So if we inspect this equation, we can see that it's not really very clear what we're doing here. So it's average if C3 to 907, and then if it's water in E3 to 907. So we don't really know. If this was in a different tab, for instance, we wouldn't know exactly what data this is referencing. So this is where named ranges will help make this a little bit basically read more like a language. In my case, it'll be English. So we are going to jump right into doing that. So we'll start off here by selecting, I don't know what I'm doing over there. We'll select the type column, select it all the way down. And then once we have our data selected, we'll go to data, named range, and then we'll just give this a name range, or a name for the range rather. So we'll say type. Click done. Let's scroll back up here. And then we will do the same for HP. So we'll select all of HP, add a range, HP, click done. And so now we have two named ranges with the names HP and type. So now we can use those in our equation. So if we go back up to the top, do our same equation, so average if, select the equation. And for our criteria range, instead of selecting the entire row, what we can do, or the entire column rather, we can just type in type. And as we begin to type, it will actually show up in the drop down here with a little spreadsheet icon next to it. So if I go back here a little bit, so if we have all these equations here with the first letter of T, we can see that type still shows up at the bottom. So all of the functions will show up before the variables that you have defined or the named ranges that you have defined. So we'll just select type. And then next we have the criteria, which we want grass. And then for our last parameter here, or last argument, we'll do HP. So now you can see that this reads a lot more like a language. So average if type is grass, and we're averaging over HP. So we can use this on any tab in the spreadsheet. We can reference it in other external docs if we've imported that data. So this is actually a much more clean way to write our equations. So if you're dealing with a lot of different variables, for instance, it might help to give them named ranges instead of just referencing the cells directly. So as far as a general overview of name ranges, that's really all there is to know. There's a few more details that we can dive into, the first of which will be the naming convention. So if I go back here and open up the settings panel for named ranges, we can see that we have HP and type. So if you have named ranges where you want to use more than one word, for instance, you won't be able to use spaces. You'll have to use underscores or something like that. There's also some restrictions around the characters that you can use. You can't use the first letter can't be, or the first character can't be a number, for instance. I'll make sure to provide a link to the documentation so you can see what those restrictions are below, but that's something I wanted to point out. Another thing that we can do here is right now we have a deterministic range here. So from E3 to E907, and that is the same case for C3 to C907. And what happens if we want to add more data to this? How do we add the new entries as part of our named range? Well, there's a built-in sort of hack, I guess you can say, that will allow us to do this automatically. And what we do is we just come in here and we delete the row reference. So now we just say E3 to E, and that will select all the way to the bottom of the column. So it'll include new entries automatically. So we'll go ahead and do that, and we'll do it for type as well. And then now if I go down here and let's add a grass type, and we'll make sure to make the HP really large so it affects the average. Let's just go ahead and make 906. We'll call this a Brandosaur, and it'll be of type grass. And all we really need to do is say the HP. So we'll say like 100,000 HP. So now if we go back up to the top, we can see that this new entry has been included automatically for us. The only other thing I really wanted to point out is that the named ranges are going to be similar to a fixed reference. So if you use the dollar signs within the reference to a cell, for instance, C3 to C907, so these are dynamic or relative references. So if we drag or copy and paste them, these cell references will move. But that is not the case for named ranges. So if I drag this down, you'll see that it's the exact same equation and we get the exact same result. And so it works very similarly to a fixed reference. Lastly, what that means is we can actually copy and paste this exact table over to a different tab, and we will get the exact same result. Not for the relative reference, because now we are not referencing the same cells within this tab over here. So with the fixed referencing that is provided by doing named ranges, we can actually use this within any tab within our spreadsheet. Or again, if we're importing data from a different spreadsheet into ours that has these named ranges, we can do that as well. So that's about all there is to know about named ranges. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.